Hey guys, Nick here with another 5 minutes of couples therapy. This week, going to continue on with our attachment style series, and today I wanted to talk about the avoidant attachment style. So people who have the avoidant attachment style, this is also referred to as the dismissive avoidance style. They can really look like they have a lot of self-confidence, and they're really independent. They're often really high achieving people due to their preference for self sufficiency. And they really want to avoid emotional and even sometimes physical intimacy. So, how does this happen? How do we get avoidant attached? So, typically, people who have an avoidant attachment style have parents that weren't really emotionally attuned to their child's emotional needs. And their parents could even have been intolerant of a child's emotional expressions. So they may have even been punished for showing emotion. As a child, they were probably taught to be tough or independent. And this is really a common value kind of passed down from fathers to their boys. A recent study found that over 40% of men that were surveyed had an avoidant attachment style. So this is a really common thing for guys. Avoidant attachment is often inherited from your parents. So another recent study showed that 85% of the time a child's attachment style is the same as their parents. So that's a really important statistic to kind of consider as we're talking about these attachment styles, because it's really easy to kind of blame your parents for making you this way, and that's just not the case. This is like a family tradition that's been passed on from generations. So like if you look back at your family tree, you could probably notice that grandma and grandpa had the same kind of attachment style, and probably their parents even. So don't blame your parents. This is kind of more, these attachment styles aren't meant to be a label. They're meant to kind of just give you some insight into how you are in relationships, and how you got that way so that you can change and, have healthier relationships. So some of the common characteristics of avoidant attached people are, like I said before, really they have a lot of self-confidence. They're really independent. A lot of these things can sound really good too. They can be really social and outgoing. They can kind of be the life of the party and be really fun to be around. They often have a lot of friends and even a lot of sexual partners. They think really highly of themselves, and from the outside they can look like they have a lot of self-control. They're often very successful people. They're highly educated. They can be overachievers. The problem with this attachment style really shows up in relationships. So our relationships, when we're avoidant, are very surface level. We want to avoid intimacy and avoid being dependent on other people at all costs. So we tend to distance ourselves when things get really serious and intimate. Might even end relationships if they get too serious. We can get easily annoyed with our partners if they express needs within a relationship. And we really think that we don't need emotional intimacy at all. Often that happens because we were taught at an early age that other people aren't dependable, and we shouldn't rely on other people. And this is really actually kind of a cultural value for Americans, right? Like we are taught that independence and pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of a thing is something to be valued. And in some ways, maybe that's true, but in our intimate relationships, it's not very helpful. So people with avoidant attachment styles tend to have an inability to form depth in their relationships and emotional bonding. And that can be really painful for them because they want that, and it's really terrifying. to them. It can also be, really painful for their partners who are, striving to develop those bonds with somebody who's avoidant. So what do you do about that, right? Like, what do you do if you find that you have an avoidant attachment style? So the first step in addressing any problem you might have is just admitting that it's a problem, right? Like, I'm a big fan of the 12 steps. They were kind of developed to treat substance use disorders, but they are really applicable to many areas of life. And the first step is admitting that you've got a problem. So that's something you got to do here too. Self-reflection around your emotions and kind of like your physical reactions when intimacy is about to happen in a relationship. Just noticing those things is really important. Exploring your own emotional needs and talking about them. Often people who are avoidant attached are just so unfamiliar with emotions in general that they have a hard time even naming how they're feeling, and feelings can be really confusing. So something I use in my office here is just an emotion wheel, because when we're doing couples therapy, a lot of the time what I'm trying to do is help the guy in the relationship learn how to talk about their feelings and be emotionally vulnerable. So this picture up here is it's a pillow cover that I have on a throw pillow, just with a bunch of emotions. And there's a link under there that you can use if you want to buy one of these, just as a tool to have, because really just exploring what you're feeling and trying to name it can be really helpful in helping you to develop kind of an emotional awareness of yourself. So also, a website that I really like is the Attachment Project. It's attachmentproject.com. They have a quiz there that you can do to find out what your attachment style is. And then for each attachment style, they also have a workbook. So there is an avoidant attachment style workbook that can help you kind of work through some of the different causes and conditions that led to you developing this attachment style. And from there, you can kind of do some work to try to form more depth in your relationships. And finally, like I'm going to say every week, because I'm a therapist, is it can be extremely beneficial to work with a therapist. Over 60% of people at some point in their life are going to seek therapy, so it's a totally normal thing, and it can be very beneficial to kind of explore the source of some of these issues that you're dealing with. So I know that was super brief, but it is 5 minutes of couples therapy, and I've already talked for 8 minutes, so that's what I got for you guys this week. I hope you have an awesome week, and I will talk to you next week when we're going to talk about disorganized attachment. So see you guys later.